Hello, welcome once again. We are still in our calculator. So now we have successfully built the structure, which is the HTML, then style it, which is the beautification. So now we are going to add the JavaScript, the interactivity. So here is our calculator. But if you notice, there's no interactivity. You can't interact with the calculator, right? You can't click any of this functionality. Nothing is showing. So, and this make it a what, a static calculator, so it can be interactive with what, the user. So what we are going to do now is to add JavaScript to it, that is to add life to it. So what we are going to do is, first we want to focus on this, so that once we are toggling between this, it will be changing the color, the state, or changing the color of this, right? It's just like a theme toggling between different themes. So what we're going to do now is, coming down to our CSS, we are going to create a different class with different styling that we are going to apply on the calculator in each time we call a different class name. So what we're going to do now is, we are going to select, because this is the default styling we have. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to first carry from here down to here, and then put it inside my what. So I have something like this, right? So what I'm going to do next is to convert this thing to, let's say, calculator underscore, let's say calculator underscore first, right? So if you go there in my browser, I see everything I've scattered because I am not regarding this thing again. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to duplicate the whole of this, to copy from here to here. So as I've copied it, what I'm going to do is come down here. Maybe I will use a quote, or let me say a commented quote, to say second class style, second class style. So let's have something like this. So here I'm going to have my second class, that is calculator underscore second. So but I'm going to change some things here. So coming here, let me change my background color. I have something like this. So I have E7, 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 right? So then my color should be, what is it? So instead of white, let me have 40, that is the same color code, 43E and 3A. So now I'm going down. The next one I'm going to have again is my title. So here in the second, I'm not supposed to have the same color with that of the first. So what I'm going to do is, or I can decide to just leave it. So now coming down here, I will say this should be now index of what? The second one, that is 2. So which color am I going to have? I'm going to have a color code still. And the color code is comprised of what? 30, D, B, and then what? 62. Let's say 60. Sorry, what am I writing? So we have 62. 30D and then B62. So we have something like this. So now over there in my display, what should I have there? I'm going to, my display is that of the screen, right? So what I'm going to have is hash EF, right? So now what's going to be the color? Color can still remain the same, right? So the next one is what? My main, which color am I going to have? I think I should give you a color the same EF with that of the display. So that of the items, which background color is it going to have? Because it's not going to have the same color with that of the first. So the background color, I can decide to use color code. And using color code, I have E6 or EB, then EEE. Or I can use EB, E4, and E0. Right, so now for the color, I'm going to have the color to be with that of the span over there. So I can have 1 2 3 A and then E3A. So and then the next one we're going to have is this item. Remember, this and this always have the same similar color. So for the item of item 17, your background color should be what? 39, that is 398181, no, 8187. You have a color like this. And then what should be the color? This is the background color. Then what should be the color? Color should be white. So the same thing is applicable to this place. You have 39. What do I have here? This is the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. So for that of the last one, so what should we have? We should have the color should be, the background color should be, then the same color code. Let's have something like C85401. Right? Good. So now we're going to have color to be white. Can decide to leave the color to be white. So this is for the second class. Now we can come down to the third class. Let's say third class, third class stage. So I now have something like this, right? So let me change this to third. Yeah. So here the background color needs to change from here. So let's say the background color should be the same color code. So let's say 1706 and 29. Right? Am I right? Yes, good. So the color should be, let's say, a good red can go well. Right. So let's continue. So the title, under the title, the background, we can see if the background color should be like that. Then coming to this child, end child, you can have the end child of 3 because we're not talking of class 3. So you can have the end child of 3. And then what will be our color code? Our color code here should be 00DED0. Right? That is this. Okay. All right. So let's proceed. Then the display, the color code should be, color code should be 1D on 08 and 45. No, am I correct? 1D 0836. Okay, yeah. So the next one is the color for what? Main. So for that of main, let's change the color to be what? 1D0836 or 36. Okay, so this is the color for the main. Then we move to the items. So that of the items, what should be our background color? What should be our background color? Should be what? 37 is a color code 1A447, or you can say 4F. Okay, so we can proceed, right? That is for this. All right, so we proceed. So that of item 17, that is this. What should be the color code? Color code should be what? 56077 ID. Okay, right. So we move on. So what should be the color? The color should be still remain white. Then that of the item 18, what should be the background color? The background color should be a color code of what? 00DE, then CE. And then that of color, what should now be the color? The color should be, is a color code still, and color should be what? 170629. Good. So this is for the what? The third class. So we see we have different style for different classes. So this is for the third class. So this is for the second class, and the other one is for the what? First class. So what we are going to do now, we are going to come over to our HTML and then give all these span the ID of different class name. So I can have this one should be the ID of what? The first being the default. Then this should carry the ID of what? The second. And then the last one should carry the ID of what? The third. So what I'm going to do next is to go over to my what? JavaScript file. So but you see that it's still empty. So what I need to do first and foremost is to connect it with my HTML file. And I can do this in two different ways. So I can decide to come over to my head tag and then put my script tag and then source this. But before then, I'm going to add this, the file. So this, what it yeah, is telling browser is, make sure before you execute this file, make sure this file is already executed. So if I don't want to make use of it this way, I can decide to go by this, maybe come at the end of this place, that is after all the content, before the body, and then I'll put it on. If I don't put it, I have to remove this variable, the file. So automatically I've already connected my JavaScript file with my HTML file. So whatever I'm doing in my JavaScript file, it has an effect to my what? To my HTML file. So now over to my JavaScript file. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to initialize all these my containers. So I'm going to call a variable called calc. Let's say calc boss. That is a variable for my calculator. So I can have something like this: calc boss to be equals what? Document dot query selector dot calculator. See, so this is the initial class for my calculators, if you can remember there in my HTML. So I can have calc b button. So this is just a variable to initialize all the span elements inside the div of what? Title class name. So we can have dot query selector. Now query selector or dot title span. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to get all the values of this span inside this button with class name title. So all this is what I'm trying to get. So I can remove this. This is not to throw an error. So now over to this place, what I'm going to do next is to come here and then try to destructure this, because this is returning a node list. So what I'm going to do now is to destructure it by saying bg, let's say bg button array should equals what? By using a spread method, this. So if you want to see your value of this, you can try to log it, console.log. So we have your bg this. So over there in our browser, you see we have something like this. So this is an array, right? This is an array. So you see I can fetch the values of each of the span. So now, but this is not what you want to achieve. You just want to check our value. So here, what else we are going to do? We are going to initialize the state called, let's say let state equals what? 1, right? Good. So now we now come down and say bg array dot for each. So we have something like btn, right, comma, then index, that is the index of each button. So we have something like this. So what else are we going to do? We're going to have btn dot on click. So our normal arrow function. So we're going to have calc boss dot class name equals what? Btn dot what? ID. So what this is saying, what this logic is saying, that I'm trying to, once I click any of the button, that is the button I'm making reference is those span elements, is going to initialize the value of those styling to the each individual button. That is why it's tracking it by the ID. So what I'm going to do next is I'm now going to come down here and now say my calc boss dot class name is equals what? The initial style, or I can decide to remove it from this and just use normal array or normal column, sorry, normal quotes. So I can have calculator calculator underscore what? First. So with this, over there in my browser, you can see I now have this is what I have initially. So now I can now toggle between these two so that if I come here and click it and click this one, okay, something is wrong somewhere. So let's go back and look to our code. Let's click this to this, okay. Because class name, okay. First list, okay. So over there, let's click again. Okay, you can see it. It's now working. It is toggling, right? Good. So you can see we have successfully applied this one. It is toggling successfully. So at each team, you can see the color. So this is now what how is happening that at number one, it will apply the class name, that of the first class name, that is this. It will apply all the styling there. At number two, it will take that of what? The second styling, and then at number three, it will take that of what? The third styling, right? So this is one of them. So now let's dive into what? Making this to be what's responsive. I mean, not responsive, but at least let's able to get the character of each button that we clicked under our screen. So what we're going to do now is to come here and then say let's say buttons equals document dot get element by class name, document dot get element by class name, that is dot items, sorry, not dot items here, items. So now I want to that of display equals document dot get element. I want to make use of id this time around, so I'm going to change this to what? Id. So it is not going to be id of what? Display. So over here in my html, I'm going to change this. Instead of class name, I will not change it to what? id. So over there in my css, I'm going to change all this place. Instead of dots, it will not be hashed, right? So that is under second. So under dot, I will convert it to what? Hash. Now that of first, I will convert it to what? Hash. So I'll proceed. So what I'm going to do now is I'll come below this, and now what I'm going to do next now is to say let's, if I still want to console log all this to see this, I can say all buttons. Let's say all button should be equals the structuring. Remember, so what I'm destructuring is now buttons. So I'm destructuring this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to console log this thing. If I should console log it, let's say all button, console log all button. You see, I'm getting array. So what I'm going to do now is going to declare a variable. Let's say let expression equals this. What am I trying to achieve? I'm trying to make this in a state or a container whereby all the values will be stored so that I can make use of them at each particular point in time. So what I'm going to do next is I'll come down here. I'll now say all buttons dot for each. Now button is not going to carry s this time around. I'll now have something like this, right? So I will now call the individual button, that is button dot add event listener, add event listener, add event listener. Then we have something like this. We have click, then we have something like this. So normally this is an arrow function, so we have this. So what are we going to do next? Here we're going to call out the function. So we're going to say equals let value equals button dot text content, right? So this is going to fetch the value, like wherever we call this variable value, is going to fetch the text content of that button. So what we're going to do next, we're going to say if, we're now using our if. So if value is strictly equals what? If value is strictly equals this, that is when we're making reference to this button. Okay, okay, this is why it's showing this error because of here. So that's why my this thing cuts. So but let me just finish it. If this is equals this, so now expression should be equals to what? Expression dot slice. So what do we have? We have 0 comma minus 1. So with this, our page should load well. So you see it now. What I'm making reference is this button. This is what I'm making reference to. So now we can now say else if value if value is strictly equals this, reset. So what should happen? We want our expression to be equals what? Empty string. So I'm making reference to this button. So the next one, I'm going to say else if value is strictly equals this, what should happen? What should happen is I'm going to have my expression should be equals to expression expression dot replace this, then I will now have this, and then something like this. So this is why I'm making my calculations, this is I'm making my calculation. Then instead here I can have something like try expression should be equals e- evaluate expression dot to string. This is why I'm making my evaluation. So else catch error. So else it will be expression to be equals to what? Error, right? So then after this, I can now come and say else. Then what should happen? Expression should be plus equals what? Value. So I'm trying to do increments here. So it should be plus equals value. So then display, remember my display? That is my scheme. That's the idea of display. Dot text content should be equals what? Expression. Right. So let's go back to our this and then let's click. They say button dot advent is not a function, so we're having an error here. Let's look at it. I think there's a mistake here. This listener, something like this. So okay, we're not seeing the error again. All right. So let's comment this so I'll not be seeing it on console. So when we click on 8, when we click on our 8, Let's click on our numbers. Why is our numbers not clicking? So our numbers are not clicking. Let's go and know where the error is coming from. So we have things like this, okay? We have things like this, okay? Else if, else, expression plus equals value, then this, all right? So let's go back. There's an issue here. Display get element by ID, display, okay? So over here, you have the ID to be displayed, okay? So you have the ID, you have the ID, hash ID, and that of here, we have the ID. So let's go back again. I think you have to change this. Okay, at this third, the color is white. Then that of second, the color is white. That of first, the color is white. So you need to be seeing something here. Let's go back to our JavaScript. I have to debug the error together. So we have this for each. So let's comment this functionality. Let's comment this functionality. Okay. So what I'm going to do is let's go with this all button. Okay. So we have this. Let's check where the issue is coming from. So now if you come to our browser, you see we can do 89 plus this to give us the answer, right? We can also do this minus this to give us the answer, right? You can also try to delete it. See, you're deleting it one after the other. I also try to do this plus this to give us the answer. I can also do to remove this and then do 0.96 divided by 8 to give us the answer, right? So what I'm going to do now is to clear it. You see, it will clear. So if you click on this and plus this to give us the answer, so I can decide to delete it one after the other, or I can decide to clear everything once. So I can toggle it, and toggle this. Okay, let's go back to this place and then comment our code. I can toggle this. and also write my number, but you cannot see it. Okay, let me go back to my this, and then let's change it to black. So now you can see it. So I can do this and do plus this and still give me the answer times this, and it will give me the answer. So I can decide to, toggle to this place, and then you can decide to do the same, remove this or remove this. So, and that is all. So congratulations, you have successfully built a well and full calculator that is working, calculating, and also you can toggle between the teams. So with this, you can call yourself a front-end developer. So I hope you see this video helpful. Thank you for watching and hope to see you in the next video.